IFVs and 400 Merkava tanks, according to open source intelligence, so the loss of a dozen armored vehicles won't be a strategic level loss. But from Hamas's point of view, it's a major PR victory that they can parade these armored vehicles around Gaza now. Satellite mode on the live conflict map shows us the geography of the terrain located just outside the Gaza Strip, inside Israel where the fighting is largely taking place. This area is flat, open fields and farmland that stretches until some major cities and built-up areas. Further to the south is the desert arid region. Israel had relied on fences and barbed wire as protection and defenses here. They possibly didn't expect an organized attack pre-planned to destroy these obstacles. The southern region of Israel is one of 6 different regions in the country. Its population in the southern region is about 79% Jewish and 12.7% Arab and Muslim. The population of the southern district is just over 1 million people, and its area is 14,185 square kilometers. It's the largest district in terms of land area, but the most sparsely populated. It covers most of the Negev desert as well as the Araba Valley. Looking at these Israeli outposts that are being overrun and attacked, they remind me of the outposts I lived on when I was in Iraq. We're talking about small
The West has always wanted democracy throughout the world. However, when we look into the depth, we find out that all democratic leaders are controlled by the West. In Africa, where we saw recent coups, all the presidents represented a democratic system, but they were West puppets. These presidents do and say things that are in the interest of the West, caring little for their own people. But this changed, and the military leaders have carried out coups to save what's left in their countries. Yet again, the West is using propaganda, saying that these coups are undemocratic. This gives them an excuse to interfere and intervene. Giving a speech at the United Nations General Assembly, he embarrassed the Western leaders sitting there, exposing how African leaders were blackmailed. The military leader of Guinea exposed what the West was planning to do next, which people of Africa should know about. So what is it? Let's find that out and know what he said. The military leader of the Republic of Guinea took the stage and started his speech in a way nobody expected. He mentioned the fact that the troubling surge of coups has swept across Africa, particularly in the French-speaking countries in the Saharan region. He said that this is because France has suppressed these African countries for decades, even after their superficial independence. He pointed out what the West is doing now in response to the coups, instead of understanding why they are surfacing in the first place. He said that the Western world has denounced and imposed sanctions on countries where coups were witnessed. However, the West should know that coups are in response to their policies about Africa. They put African presidents who were actually the West's puppets, making those countries their new colonies. He said that the root cause of these coups should be understood, instead of considering this sensitive situation hostile. The leader highlighted that coups were not solely orchestrated by those resorting to armed insurrection to overthrow a government. Rather, these coups are in response to the role played by individuals engaged in covert plotting, cunning schemes, deceptive tactics, and manipulation of constitutional provisions to maintain their hold on power. Well, he was referring to the African presidents and heads of state who have accepted to be the West's puppets for decades. They use the Constitution however they see fit, extending their rule and offering benefits to former colonial powers. The military leader of Guinea said that these individuals are often in white-collar positions, appearing as preachers of democracy. However, in reality, they are the ones betraying their countries. He said that when this type of unethical and undemocratic action becomes normal, coups are inevitable. The military leader expressed his personal commitment to preventing their country from descending into complete chaos and rebellion, when at that time, no political forces had the necessary courage or means to do so. When the puppet presidents rule, they only care about the West's interests because this, in turn, ensures their expansion of fortune. When they offer economic advantages to Western companies by signing bills and laws, their wealth in Western countries grows. However, in doing all that, they keep their own country in poverty. People's standard of living plummet, and there are no institutions which can hold the country together. He pointed out that the institutional reforms implemented on September 5th, 2021, were seen as a direct response to the turbulent situation that had torn apart the social fabric of their nation and eroded social harmony. As he held power as a result of a coup and prevented his country from falling apart, All other coup leaders in African countries are doing the same. Without explicitly stating this, he defended the ongoing coups in Africa. It's because there is no other option left to save those countries from anarchy and absolute poverty. If democracy is allowed to continue, only the West will benefit from it because it finds a way to put the president who is most loyal to them, not his own people. Therefore, the coup leaders are taking responsibility because the West cannot control them and does not have any influence over them. That's why the coup leaders are being criticized in the West. He said that Western leaders must understand the social and cultural differences between them and Africans. If democracy is thriving in the West and bringing prosperity, why isn't it doing the same in Africa? This means that either the society is different or the democratic model is being prevented from being applied completely. The military leader of Guinea emphasized that African people have awakened and become more determined than ever to take control of their destiny. He pointed out that the significant disparities in wealth distribution have led to extensive inequalities, resulting in widespread famine and severe poverty. These conditions have made daily life increasingly challenging for the population. These inequalities are considered one of the fundamental causes of events that threaten the peaceful coexistence of the region. In particular, the concentration of a nation's wealth in the hands of an elite, while newborns suffer in hospitals due to a shortage of incubators, has played a significant role in driving substantial societal changes. Those who have wealth are mostly under the patronage of the West. In return, they help the presidential candidates chosen by the West. But this will not continue any longer. Military leaders do not need anyone's patronage, and they can make radical changes, making the West powerless in their internal matters. The military leader highlighted that Africa is grappling with a governance model that has been imposed upon it. While this model has proven effective in the Western world, its application to African customs and the local environment has presented considerable challenges. Recognizing that some might label them as a hawk, undermining democracy, or a soldier seeking to impose a dictatorship, the military leader said that the democratic model imposed on them, particularly after the Label Summit in France, has proven ineffective. He clarified that this acknowledgement is not a condemnation of democracy itself, but rather a sober assessment of the situation based on decades of chaotic experimentation with this model in the African context. During this period, political maneuvering often took precedence over economic development and responsible management of natural resources. Drawing from their brief yet intensive experience in managing Guinea, the military leader came to understand the extent to which this model had perpetuated a system of exploitation and resource plundering by external actors.
Yo, can't be mad at him. Look at everything that's going on around here. Even in America. With us. People tired.
Additionally, it had facilitated rampant corruption among national elites, some of whom received democratic labels for their willingness to relinquish their people's resources and property, or comply with the recommendations and demands of powerful nations. You see, when the African leaders do something in favor of the West, no matter how undemocratic and unconstitutional it is, the West never complains about this. But when they see a coup, which is actually against them and in favor of the people, they do everything they can to portray military leaders as dictators. He exposed the West by saying that those who profess democracy, transparency, and condemnation of poor governance and corruption were in reality applying subtle pressure to secure deals that would transfer their nation's wealth through unconscionable and one-sided contracts. But his criticism was not solely aimed at the West. If the West was pressuring African leaders, why did not they expose the West when they were in power? They chose to be the West's puppets and allowed plunder and looting in return for a fortune for themselves. He confessed that certain leaders had succumbed to various pressures, weaknesses, political agendas, or hidden agendas, but the military leader did not endorse these actions.
That's why they killed Gaddafi.
You should understand the reason why the West hates coup leaders in Africa. It's not because they are a threat to democracy, but because they don't allow the West and its companies to steal and plunder their resources. When the military leader of Burkina Faso ordered French companies to leave the gold mines, do you think the West would love him? He asked a simple question. Who can be loyal to the people of Africa, the mighty West, which looted it, or its own military leaders? This triggered a pause. Everyone knew the answer. Continuing, he said that the international world should respect the oath the military leaders had solemnly taken. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now.
I'm gonna watch this a little bit later. I gotta pause this right now.